actually pass the ball to their running back. And one of my key things that I always look for is goal line munchers. You have to have a goal line muncher. I like those guys to get touchdowns. You do not want to get caught up in the Matt Forte era from 3 years ago, where every time they got to the red zone, they took him out. Nothing eats fantasy owners up more than their workhorse getting down to the goal line and getting snatched out by another guy. That is the worst thing ever. So same thing you do with your running backs. You get out your pencils, your pens, your markers. You look at a couple key facts. You look at yardage. You look at touchdowns. If you're in the PPR, you look at receptions. You look at reception touchdowns. Also take a close look at fumbles. A lot of books got Jamal Charles as the number one running back in fantasy football. I had Jamal Charles last year. It was some weeks where it was kind of scary. Jamal Charles did get you 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns, and then he also helped you out with 291 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. He can have 50 receiving yards. Them 5 touchdowns is a bonus. That gets him 14 on the year. So that's 14 times that year he hit pay dirt for you, which was, brilliant. You were really excited with that. I don't think he's the number one fantasy football running back, but some people do. Like I said, you take a close look at who works for you. You look at their schedule, look at their systems. To me, this year, I go again. I think no running back is better when it comes to closing. No running back finds the end zone as he does. A lot of people talk that when you get older, you go down. I'm just looking at over his career. From 2010, 6 touchdowns. 2011, 12. 2012, 11. 2013, 12. 2014, 13. Like, this guy is getting better. Same thing with the yards. The yards have went up since they said he was getting older. I think Marshawn Lynch is the best running back in football. Also think he's the best running back in fantasy football. He got you 1,300 yards rushing last year with 13 TDs. He got you another 367 receiving and 4 TDs. If I can count, because I watched Sesame Street this morning, that's 17 TDs on the year from this guy. I just think he's a complete back because that team plays a certain style of ball. And adding Jimmy Graham doesn't make it no better. I've been saying the same cliche thing for the last couple years when it comes to those guys. You find yourself in a 17-14 game, and if you're on the wrong side of 17, he becomes a closer. He gets in a baseball mindset, and no one on this planet can stop Marshawn Lynch from getting the first down at that point. He will pound the rock, and next thing you know, they're in the goal line, and he's unstoppable there. Them guys should be sporting 2 Super Bowl rings, but they decided not to give the best running back on the planet the ball. I understand a lot of people love AP. I think AP is awesome, but I would take Marshawn because Marshawn has a heart and a motor that you don't see that often. As I just read off the numbers, he's gotten better. Since he's been told his workload will slow down, he's gotten better. Like he had 100 and something more yards and 2 more touchdowns with like 40 less carry. Like, he's gotten better. Some other key running back things to look at with running back: beware of the second year flop. Some of these guys that have these breakout years with running backs, you have to make sure you know exactly what you're buying. You do not want to buy a Lawrence Maroney. For those who've been playing fantasy long enough, they remember the Lawrence Maroney season. He had a decent closeout season the next year. Every fantasy magazine, every booklet, every fantasy chart had my man at number 2 or 3. They had him at the Lawrence Maroney at number 2 or 3 running back spot. You do not, I repeat, you do not want to get bit with that bug. So be careful. If you want to know who I'm talking about, watch out for your CJ Andersons. They got Gary Kubiak at the helm. I'm very, very scared of Gary Kubiak. You have to watch out for the Justin Forsets. You also got to remember that Ray Rice ran hell of a in that offense for a while, and then it just stopped. Then you got to pay attention to some of these young guns and some of these second-tier players like Jeremy Hill over in Cincinnati. I mean, the kid last year had 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns out of nowhere. We're talking a rookie out of nowhere. He had 27 receptions for 215, but no touchdowns. So he didn't give you that dual threat as one of the most slept on running backs in all of football in Matt Forte. Matt Forte gave you 1,038 and 6 touchdowns, but he also got you 800 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. So he got you 10 touchdowns on the year. Yeah, it's a new offense, but it's John Fox. He's a defensive-minded coach, but he let his offensive coordinators do their thing. Shady McCoy. A lot of people are down on Shady because the simple fact, Shady only got you 5 touchdowns last year. What people fail to realize is Shady only missed his yardage from last year, from the season before, by 300. Last year was Shady's second best rushing career of his career. That was his second best rushing season of his career last year. As the numbers were down for touchdowns, he still got you 1,300 yards. And being in a Rex Ryan offense only means the world for Shady. I personally think outside of Marshawn Lynch, Shady should be at the top of your draft board. I think Shady, you can get him late because of people feeling a certain way about him, but I think you will cash in with Shady McCoy. Adrian Peterson, he's ranked 7th and 6th and all that in different books. AP is going to go first off of his name. He will be one of the first running backs taken. That team still had great production on the ground. Without AP, you give that man a year off with healthy legs, you're in for a treat with taking AP early. You have no worries. DeMarco Murray is another one you have to be a little scared of, but you don't have to be petrified because he got you 1,845 yards, in which we thought was the best offensive line we've seen in the past 15 years. Shady, from the same offensive line that he's going to, got you 1,300 yards. So if you replace the two, you still got a good running back. He had 13 touchdowns. Let's say he only gets 6. He matched Shady numbers again from last year. Solid running back. Some good sleepers to look at. Look at Todd Gurley with the Rams splitting time over there with my man Trey Mason. Mark Ingram had a monster year last year. Finally, New Orleans let one running back run the ball, and we see what he can do. He had a hell of a year, just shy of 1,000 yards with 9 touchdowns. You're talking about a goal line muncher. The boy was a goal line muncher. Alfred Morris should have a big year. Don't necessarily know he's a sleeper. Should be a second tier. Giovanni should be coming back heavy. My buddy pointed out Jonathan Stewart. Jonathan Stewart should finally have a good year because he's by himself. Let's not forget Coleman in Atlanta. That should be a good look. Atlanta hasn't had a running game since Michael Turner. Also, pay close attention. Andre Ellington. He turned it on late last year, and he's a dual threat. Rookie, Amir Abdullah with the Lions. They need a good running back out the backfield with some speed. We all know he can catch the ball out the backfield as well. With Calvin on the outside, Golden Tate on the outside. Hopefully we see the young tight end finally. It should be a good fit. I'm looking forward to seeing what that plays out. Patriots, I don't touch none of their running backs because they will blow. They will blow on you. Then they phone the ball. They can't touch it no more. Another little running back to look out for. I think Darren McFadden, because he's so down on everyone's list, if healthy behind that Dallas line that we think we seen last year, Darren McFadden may have a monster year. Darren McFadden is my biggest sleeper when it comes to running backs. I think you can get Darren McFadden late. And if you get him late and it works for you, I'm a genius. If you get him late and he sucks, don't be mad because you got him late. You can drop him. He should be going in like 7th or 9th round around that time. Two good players to also look out for is Isaiah Crowell and the other guy over there, Godly. I hate when I do that. It's Isaiah Crowell, and I know the guy name because I had him. Terrence West. Those two rookies last year ran the ball pretty well together. But they did draft Duke Johnson, so we don't know how that's going to go. But Isaiah Crowell was another guy that was a goal line muncher last year. He had 8 touchdowns on 607 yards. You can give me 40 yards. 8 touchdowns is still 8 touchdowns. 8 touchdowns is more than Shady. 8 touchdowns is more than Matt Forte. I'll take that. He was a savior last year. Chris Ivory's another good late one to get. Over there in New York, they did get some help on the outside with Brandon Marshall and a couple pieces like that. So those are some of the tips you should look for when drafting running backs. Gave you a couple names. We're going to give you a part 2 to this. We will break down wide receivers, tight ends, and defenses. Wide receivers we're going to go crazy. I have so much insight on wide receivers. As always, this has been a wonderful experience. I want to thank everybody for pressing play. Shout out to the whole One Take Podcast Nation for helping us continue to get this out. We will get back to you guys with some more fantasy talk, because y'all know my saying, it's not fantasy, it is reality, and we out of here.
You're listening to It's Not Fantasy, It's Reality.
This is the time of year we wait for all the time, all year long. This is what we wait for.
We ready?
Yo, Jacksonville Jaguars has to be a team full of sleepers. You talking fantasy football and you not looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars for deep sleepers, I don't know what to tell you. It is reality football. It's Andrew Luck all day. It's no better quarterback in fantasy football than Andrew Luck. You can keep your A-Rod, you can keep your Paytons. Give me Luck. I want the touchdowns, the rushing touchdowns. Give me Luck. If you're watching football and not playing fantasy football, then you're not watching football, because it's no longer fantasy. It's a reality.